There's a deadline coming up that could dramatically change Donald Trump's future forever. That deadline is December 16th, the date by which Special Master Judge Ray Dearie will have to submit his final report on the documents that were in fact seized from Mar-a-Lago by the FBI. Now that's kind of the drop-dead date, if you will, because at that point, Dearie's job is done, right? He's gone through the materials, determined what could be considered privileged, what could not be, and he submits his report. But then, from there, you got to go through the appeals process. Of course, Trump's going to object to some of it. It could push things way down the road. So the December 6th deadline isn't exactly the kind of thing that you should get excited about. What you might want to hold out a little bit of hope for, however, is a decision from the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals that appears likely to reverse Judge Eileen Cannon's decision to even have a special master in the first place. Because according to legal experts, if Judge Dearie's appointment is in fact overturned and he gets kicked to the curb, that immediately opens the door for Special Prosecutor Jack Smith to immediately issue indictments. So technically speaking, an indictment against Donald Trump could be a lot closer than most people realize. But, as usual, there's always a but. Just because he could indict Donald Trump at that point doesn't mean it's going to happen. But that also doesn't mean that it won't happen. So here is basically the way things could play out, several different scenarios here. The first one, as I explained, Dearie stays in place, issues his final report. Trump's going to appeal some things. We got to go through that process and see what stays, what doesn't stay. That could be quick. I think it will actually go rather quickly through the courts, so I don't think we're talking about, pushing things back 6 months, but it could push them back 2 to 3 months, depending on how many objections there are. And then from that point, we would basically enter the same kind of time frame where Jack Smith then has 100% control over it, and he could issue indictments at that point. Second scenario, of course, Dearie goes away, Trump's people appeal that decision, and then we have to go through that process, which that seems to be the most likely scenario. But again, it's one that is not going to languish in the courts forever. You're probably going to see a very quick turnaround on that appeal just because of the high level intensity of this case. So even if that happens again, we're talking about 2 to 3 months beyond this. So maybe around late January, early February. At that point, we once again hit where Jack Smith would be able to move forward with indictments if he's ready for that. And that brings up scenario number 3 that applies to all of these other scenarios, which is Jack Smith may not be ready to do it. Jack Smith has only been on the job for a couple weeks at this point, so he's got a lot of catching up to do. I'm sure they've briefed him extensively and he knows what he's dealing with, but he personally has not been on this actual case looking at evidence that you and I know nothing about, which is key. So he has to get all caught up and make sure that he has all his ducks in a row if he's even going to move forward with an indictment, which of course is another scenario. So there's lots of things happening, but the time frame is of course getting smaller for Donald Trump to, basically be uncertain about his fate. We will be getting answers very soon. They could come within the next month, or we could start getting them within the next 2 to 3 months. Either way, the shorter time frame definitely does not benefit Donald Trump. Assuming Jack Smith is all caught up on everything, we could see some very serious movement on this before the end of the year. But I think the best bet would be late January, early February, unless he just, is a legal whiz and absorbed everything super quickly, in which case indictments for Trump might be even closer than we think. Hey everyone, this is Aspen. And did you know that for the low cost of $0 per day, you can subscribe to the Fair and Balanced YouTube channel? We also encourage you to like, comment, and share. But again, click that subscribe button and help Aspen. Oh, not be so grumpy.